Okay, right. Hopefully, as Simon said, that Björk will disappear automatically. She did. Look at that. Right. Thank you, folks, for hanging around. We're going to do a couple of short fiction readings. The reason we're going a little bit early with some of this is Tim, who has joined us again this year at Lavecon. Tim has to go a little bit early. So we wanted to make sure you had a bit more opportunity to see the Human Legion and to hear a little bit more about the Human Legion. And I'm also going to join him and do a short Elite Dangerous short story, which features in the Elite Dangerous RPG game. So I thought that might be particularly good for you. So to start with, for those of you who have heard the Data Slate podcast, the very recent one that came out this week, this is Tim C. Taylor. Tim C. Taylor, Lavecon.
Hello, everyone. Very much.
Tim is a military science fiction writer and has written the Human Legion series. We talked in our interview, well, it actually came out like Thursday, but it felt like it was a while
a long
ago.
time ago.
And Tim's going to read a little excerpt from the Human Legion for you. Which book is it?
It's from a book that's not launched yet.
Ooh.
It hasn't come back from the editor.
Right.
It's called Second Strike, and it's actually a spin-off series. Revenge Squad. Actually, it's kind of urban fantasy space opera crossover. Prison Files meets Firefly.
Fantastic. Okay. I can't introduce that. Over to you, Tim. That sounds fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is an extract from a book that will hopefully come out in about 4 to 6 days to me. So the setup, Revenge Squad, this is an earlier book on the series. It's a character called NJ McCall, and he is a retired Marine from the Human Legion. He's fallen in with a rather roguish operation called Revenge Squad. And at this point in Second Strike, he and his wife, his alien wife, Silky, they are on the run, fugitive from justice for a crime that they didn't commit. They're also running from a crime that they... and everything looks very bleak, and a member of an alien race called the Literanes has come along and offered them sanctuary to join their clan. The only problem is they've got to meet the family first. So this is the point where NJ and Silky and the ghosts of his dead comrades who inhabit his mind, they meet the family. Normally, this ritual of welcome and testing would be conducted underwater, said my new Uncle Sheikh, but in deference to your limited physiology, we will perform the ritual in air. This is a rare honor. I have never performed on land. Performed what? I asked. Flippancy is ill-advised, Ndeki. We shall sing, of course. I glanced around the inner courtyard of the Katyn clan building and the 80-odd Literanes studying me in silence, their thoughts inscrutable behind. They looked so serious, so preposterous, that a belly laugh brewed inside me. Normally, the amphibians wore flexible plates made from a rubbery plastic, but in honor of the occasion, they wore heavy fabric robes. Silky and I wore humanoid versions in a bone-white color, same as Sheikh, but the Literanes looked like overgrown lizards some drunken jokers had dressed in bathrobes for a laugh. Tap the image of lizards relaxing on vacation. There is even a... But I don't know the words, I said, trying not to laugh. All the music. Neither do we, said Sheikh, with a vigorous flaring of his nostrils that I think meant he was trying to be nice to me. This is not a human song. We channel the goddess, which means there cannot be a right or wrong way to sing so long as you allow her into your heart. Express yourself. Channel the divine through you. Do not think about what you are doing, and soon it would not be you singing, but the goddess singing through you. Silky tapped me on the shoulder. Stop fretting. Like Uncle Sheikh says, you'll be okay because the goddess is above reproach. Goddess reveals all firmly, which didn't exactly reassure me as much as Silky's verse. A bell rang out and the waiting was over. The first Literane drank its tea. Did I mention the alien ritual for checking out potential new clan members, was a tea ceremony as well as freestyle singing. Before each alien took its place in the choir, it first drank from a metal cauldron of steaming liquid. Jake called it tea, but it smelled more like warm urine than something you would ever drink with pleasure. And I don't mean a faint whiff of incontinence. The pungent aroma of this tea was so caustic that the back of my throat was on its knees, begging for a swift execution. Anything but have that torment poured down it. I didn't understand how the Katyn clan could use a tea in singing, determine whether Silky and I would be better as allies, or better as a down payment on fixing their warehouse. Being married to one had cured me of any lingering notion that the doings of aliens could ever make sense. Each Literain assembled and took their place on the tiered platform that took up one end of the courtyard. I noted three dominant colours weaving through the gathering crowd like patterning cloth: white, red, and blue-green. Jake had said he was part of a triumvirate, and I realized that in wearing the same colour as him, I was marked as part of his chain of command. My speculation about unit structure came to a halt when the singing began. The first voice sang a simple tone, wobbling a little to settle into the right pitch. I could do that. I'm no singer, but I'm not tone deaf. Give me 5 pints and the right company, and I can belt out a tune with the best of them. When half the Literains had taken their place in the choir, a melody sprang into brief existence, before back to the single tones marking out a harmony. With more singers, the complexity now grew exponentially, till with a flash of brilliant harmony, the melodies began shifting and swooping like a flock of earth birds. Or, I corrected myself, like a school of fish. Songs split and circled, twisting this way and that with an oily slipperiness that dared me to give chase. In the brief moments when I drew close enough to the song to glimpse it in detail, it appeared to be no more than random notes, but then the music would pull away from me to reveal emergent complexity and astonishing beauty. How could they communicate these rapid changes and keep those harmonies synchronized? How could they possibly be doing this without decades of constant practice? It was impossible, and yet like a school of fish or a flock of birds, the harmony was there. I swallowed back a gulp. My spirit tingled with the sense that the universe was granting me teasing insights into a deeper level of reality. Maybe this goddess dreamt was right. Maybe they really were channeling the divine. And then I realized with a shock that all the Literains had assembled on the tiered platform, and it was my turn to join them. All thoughts of divinity fled. First, I had to drink the tea. I stooped to pick up the wooden cup carved in Literain script and peered into the steaming metal cauldron. The drink was local seawater, reduced to concentrate the flavor. How bad could it be? Everyone kept trying to convince me that local ingredients were healthy. And in this case, I expected that meant seaweed, a little plankton, oil and exhaust waste, minerals, concrete flakes, and fragments of the combat droids I'd blown up on the mayor's ship. I ladled a generous measure into the cup and necked it. The back of my throat puckered so violently it collapsed into a spasming singularity that sucked all that was good out of the universe. I begged my body to vomit up this salty hell, but some smart-ass alien bioengineer had decided generations ago to remove our vomit reflex, on the dubious grounds that preventing Marines from vomiting in a spacesuit was more important than the ability to sick up Literain tea. I wanted to die. But that would have to wait because I had a job to do. I was here to impress, so I put on my best diplomatic face and smiled as if this were the best taste in the world and not distilled urine samples from seafood addicts mixed with lava. Besides, I admitted to myself as the tea began to lay waste to my stomach, I tasted worse. Thinking about channeling goddesses through my ruined throat, I took my place in the choir. I sang a note and thought I was doing okay because it didn't immediately ruin the Literain's harmony. Then the choir swooped in another direction, leaving me exposed. I changed to a different note that sounded in the right key, but the song shifted again and again, far too quickly for me to catch up. It was like a human diver trying to swim with a school of fish, so far out of their league that in no way could they be considered a part of the school. One after another, black Literain eyes turned my way. They did not look sympathetic. The song lost cohesion. It became aggressive, choppy. Instead of graceful sweeping, it was the wild swinging of a blunt axe. I was breaking their song, ruining their ritual of welcome and testing. I was being found wanting. Silky was the last to join the choir. Come on, I urged her. You've got to make this work or we're dead. She sang a tone that was light, high, and fluting. It would have been beautiful if not for one thing. It was completely off key. Then she did something incredible. Without attempting to join the literanes, she began singing in her own miniature choir, resonating in her head, her chest, and her larynx in 3 separate voices with 3 distinct rhythms. Then her main singing voice deployed multiple sub-voices, like a crystal whose gleaming facets reflected multiple views of the same melody. I'd never heard anything so beautiful as that crystalline song. I was so entranced by Silky's sublime singing that I stopped singing myself. She waved at me frantically, without missing a beat of her own mini choir. I tried to sing a deeper note beneath hers, but I could no more support her than an armored division could perform a 0G ballet. She waved at me ever more frantically. Go on, you must sing. I was human, a marine half-cyborg engineered for war. I stopped trying to follow these inhumanly beautiful singers and filled my lungs, ready to give them a full blast of N.J. McCall as himself. Except I couldn't think of a tune. Quick, I said inside my head, give me a song. My ghosts deployed a vocal formation and welcomed me within. I closed my eyes and I could see my friends there with me at an ephemeral echo of the many bars where we had drunk together in life. The Sarge kicked off and the rest of us joined in. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't subtle, but belting out a tune with the hint of a glass in my hand and the camaraderie of my friends in my heart was as easy as breathing. We sang a ditty called The Sergeant Had an Empty Bulb. You don't have to guess what the song was about, partly because it was offensive to more people than those embarrassed by an empty ammunition carousel at a critical juncture, but mostly because some of the phrases are technically illegal. In any case, there was more to the words than you'd think. They spoke of loss for the friends we'd left behind, of hope for the loves in life we would find in the future. It was a riotous celebration of being alive. The song was all that and far more to me, because the Sarge, Efia, Bahata, Sanar, and all the others had sung the song with me so many times when we were alive. And now they sang it with me once more in death. Then something impossible happened. A new voice joined in, a beautiful alien, crystalline voice of aching beauty that sat in perfect harmony between Sanar's voice and Bahati's. If such a thing weren't impossible, I would have said that Sylvie could hear the sounds inside my head from my dead friends. Maybe she could. I've seen many things in my centuries journeying through the galaxy, but on very rare occasions, I've encountered something so profoundly strange that it was beyond explanation. This was one of those incidents, a sublime moment when the universe contemplates itself and temporarily permits glimpses of the impossible. Normally, I put such cases down to drunkenness, but this was different, a unique moment in time, never to be repeated. A squall of literane voices joined Silky, cautious at first, but then rapidly increasing in adventurous darting in and out of the melody of our barroom song. Alien harmonies swirled in musical motion, far too rapid and random to perceive any form, and yet a pattern surrounded my simple song, making it something more even than Silky and we could accomplish on our own. I can't say how long we sang. It sounds trite, I know, but time stretched and ceased to have meaning. We continued until I could sing no more, my throat being so dry I could only croak with the husk of a voice that remained to me. When I stopped, the song vanished like fairies in the beam of a searchlight. No one spoke or moved. I'd long ago given up trying to understand aliens, but I knew with absolute certainty that we all in that courtyard felt we had glimpsed something profound, a fleeting reminder that there was more to the universe than we experienced in the everyday. And to add one small additional miracle, I saw damp splattering my boots and realized I was weeping. The leader of the blue-green faction made her way toward me through the ranks of her clan members. This was Lady Veraldanush, the so-called heart of the triumvirate, according to Sheikh. As she reached me, she raised her torso up in the centaur pose and then bowed deeply. I returned her bow. She said nothing, but her gesture, which I took to mean thumbs up, all systems go, released the mood. The Literanes erupted into loud chatter and hissing, agitated motions of their bodies that involved a lot of tail swishing. I wasn't worried. I didn't know what the excited Literane babble meant, but if the boss lady said I'd done good, I assumed the others would follow her lead. Still, Literanes were big brutes, and their tails made effective melee weapons. After Silky had to duck beneath a tail swinging over her head, we made our way out of the excited crowd and down to the relative safety of the ground. The red triumvirate leader intercepted us, drawing his impressive bulk close. Jake had warned me of Kolb Endo, the tail of the clan. As far as I could make out, he was a combination of war leader and rearguard, who watched out for any strays, gathering them up lest they be lost to the many dangers of the galaxy. The scarred old Literane seemed to regard me warily, in stark contrast to the other two triumvirate members. Shake hadn't explained in much detail, but if this tail was responsible for the watchful security of his clan, I guess that made him the sergeant major, and like the human equivalent, it wasn't in his job description to give hugs. I gave him a crisp nod. Your presence here is an insult, the tail told me in reply. I bunched my fists, but kept my tongue in my head, hoping this was no more than an unfortunate translation. You humans are worse than vermin. It was my people who saved yours from extermination in the war, and that was the greatest mistake the Literane people will ever make. I guess this really was fighting talk. I squared my chin and tried to weather this verbal storm without hitting somebody important. But the tale had not finished. As for that disgusting creature you brought in your wake, the mutant with the tentacles on her head, not only is she an affront to the goddess, but it is all I can do to keep myself from vomiting at her foul stench and clawing out my eyes at the sight of her. That's enough, I told him. I get insulted every day of the year. No big deal. But you insult my wife, and that's a different matter. And if we are to be accepted into the Gatine clan, then by insulting Silky, you insult the entire clan, and I can never accept that. Retract your insult, sir. Silky came to stand beside me. What the big lunk said, she told the tale in a menacing whisper. Anyone messes with him, they answer to me. The tale gaped with his mouth. Noble sentiments, he said, but not tempered by grace, diplomacy, or much evidence of cognitive capacity. You would bring dishonor to us, and your presence here is a disgrace. Leave, immediately. We've nowhere to go, I told the Literane. Seems like you've maneuvered us just where you wanted us, into a fight. Where is the honor in such manipulation, Tale of the Gatine? If you wanted a fight, you only had to ask. Literane slowly pivoted his torso to bring his face up close and personal to mine. I expected his breath to taste of fish, but it smelled like butter. Maybe my taste was still thrown by that tea. Silky intervened. My human friend often speaks in riddles that make little sense to elder races such as ours. So let me restate his words so that there may be no unfortunate misunderstandings. Speak one more threat or insult, you ugly fishhead, and he'll rip your tail off and shove it up your cloaca. The tail acted surprised at Silky's venom, but when she gave him a psychic blast of predator threat for good measure, he flinched, and then he walked away. I couldn't believe we'd faced down the embodiment of Literane martial spirit so easily. Maybe his insults had been some kind of test to see how easily we could be cowed. The smooth-scaled Literane in the white of Shake's faction approached me on all fours with head down low. It tentatively curled its tail in my direction, touching my hand with its tip. I gripped it and shook it, like a loose handshake. I welcome you, human Gatine Joshua Endeki. The translated voice was female. I, Classelred, lead the most progressive faction of the young unmainted. She, presuming it really was a she, gave me a strange sideways look and began to gently bob her head. Probably she was screaming at me in scent language, but all I noticed was the strip of skin between her nostrils changing from crusty yellow to lurid purple. What's going on? I tried to ask Silky telepathically, but I received only amusement in reply. A crowd of relatively light-framed Literanes joined Classelred, politely mobbing me. I guess they were more of what Castlereagh had called young unmateds. If the Literanes had an equivalent of teenage rebellion, then I'd probably just become their idol by standing up to their number one authority figure. Still, if two of the triumvirate had been impressed by us, and I was now the pin-up hero of the young and trendy, my boss would be proud of his new interspecies liaison officer. More to the point, we had now won ourselves a base of operations to plan our next move. You would think by then I had learned not to take the future for granted, even the next few seconds of the future. It always jinxes things. Castlereagh's group suddenly shuffled aside to allow the tail to approach, flanked by two heavy-duty Literane brutes. I underestimated you, Katine, Joshua, and Deki. You have achieved your objective. I do not wish the situation, but I embrace it. Thank you, sir, I told the ugly Literane Vec. You are gracious. Quite so. One of the heavies handed me a knife. What's this? I asked, feeling stupid even as the words leaked out of my mouth. Everyone backed away to form a ring around the courtyard, all except the tail, who also had a blade, except his was twice as long as mine and viciously barbed. The tail hissed a challenge at me. You may now attempt to rip my tail off and shove it wherever you will. I tested my weapon. The blade was flimsy, blunt, and looked brittle. This was not a fair fight. No matter, I always fought dirty whenever I could. Without telegraphing my intention by looking up at my opponent, I suddenly threw the knife underhand. I was aiming for Colbendo's snout, but he was fast for a big thing and twisted aside. My blade embedded in his left thigh, the hilt snapping off as I expected it would. If my weapon had been sound, I would have rushed him at the same time as my knife strike, but this was an uneven fight. I wanted him overconfident. Relax, human, the Literane told me. I invite you to rip off my tail, but I do not threaten you similarly. You mean this isn't a fight to the death? Human, I mean I shall not cut off your extremities and force them down your throat. I shall merely sever your head from your torso. It is, I suspect, the fastest way to cease your irritating babbling. Before he finished speaking, he charged me. If anyone tells you Literanes are lumbering beasts out of water, give them a sharp kick in the shins and tell them to shut the frack up. The tail came at me faster than anyone I'd ever seen in my life. Very much.
Does that give me sound? There we go. Okay. So I was saying, anyone an alliance player? Okay. All right. So as part of EDRPG and as part of their funding, I was commissioned to write a couple of extra Elite Dangerous short stories. So if you haven't seen them, you can find them all on the EDRPG website. And this one is one from that list, which is Poor Little Rich Girl. So if you know your Alliance history, if anyone's a Frontier First Encounters player, then they may know their Alliance history, then you may know some of the details of this. And this may reveal something. Good morning, Meredith. How are you today? I open my eyes to the whiteness, the blank space, blank walls, blank floor, blank ceiling. This has been my life for all of my life. I'm fine, thank you, I say. I have to say that. Otherwise, the question will repeat until I acknowledge an answer. There's a faint sweetness to the air, the aftermath of a stimulant gas injection to wake me up. Everything is timed and managed to ensure I remain in the best possible health. My sleeping is scheduled, my wake and activities carefully calculated. This is a library of routines, projects, media, engagements, and more for me to choose from. But they're all self-contained within this room. They will have no effect here or anything else. There is gravity. This part of the ship rotates. In an emergency, the section will be stopped. The outer chamber filled with liquid and restraints deployed to ensure I'm not harmed. In my time here, I can only remember that happening twice. Where are we, I ask as I sit up. It's a meaningless question. The location of this spaceship changes quickly and constantly. The contract demands that it do so to ensure I am never captured or found. Eta Cassiopeia, the ship replies. We are currently refueling. Refueling is the nearest we get to any aspect of human civilization. Our fuel scoops will be deployed and feasting on hydrogen. Occasionally, there are ships around the same sun. When I ask, the computer will display a feed from the external cameras on the wall, and I can see them, but we can't make contact. That would break the terms of my purchase. Yes, I am a commodity. I was bought and sold before I was born. What would you like to do today, Meredith? The ship asks. I'd like to see outside, I say. The walls fade into black. Starlight illuminates my bed, and then as the ship rolls, the orange light of the sun catches the room. It's beautiful. It's always beautiful. It almost makes the loneliness easy to bear. Is there anyone nearby, I ask. There is a federal patrol within 2,000 kilometers of us, the ship replies. They have noted our presence, but not deviated from their course. I am monitoring them. Do we have any local information access? Yes, I've managed to connect with Wilcott Terminal. We will not remain long. This system is known to be heavily militarized. Not for the first time, I wonder where we're going, or if the ship has a final destination in its programming. We've been traveling my whole conscious life. I can't remember a time when I wasn't in this room alone talking to an artificial voice. Can I have my slate, please? Of course. A panel slides away in the wall. I get up and pull out the smooth, flat touchscreen. I access the local records looking for news, but there is little of interest. The faces change, but people still murder, fight, steal, and rebel. The corporations are the biggest thieves, hiding their extortion behind flashing adverts and beautiful holograms that pop out of the screen to talk to you. I remember when I was young, I got excited and tried to talk back, but they never listened to me. I have no inbox, and there's no way to contact people. The ship screens what content I can and can't access using powerful algorithms to ensure my needs are anticipated when it downloads information from the local system to its database. If there are items I'd like, they're constructed and printed for me. If there's media content, it's immediately acquired and displayed on the wall of my choice. I have everything I could possibly want or need apart from one thing: freedom. Chip, explain to me again why I'm here. You are Meredith Argent. The artificial voice takes on a flat tone as it begins reading from a prepared file. Singular authorized clone of Meredith Argent. You were birthed as part of a contract between Argent Incorporated and the Achilles Corporation. You are the last living example of your specific genetic code, the record of which remains on this ship. You were purchased as insurance of collaboration between our two companies for mutual benefit. I've heard this before, but each time I ask the question, I get a variation on the answer. It's enough of a variation that I always learn a little bit more. The subtle changes in words, additions to sentences. Perhaps the ship is programmed to give me more information as I get older. I certainly remember the explanations being less detailed when I was a child. What collaborations are the companies working on? I can't remember how many times I've tried to find this out. Detail of the project remains classified. We cannot risk telling you in case you fall into enemy hands. But you know... Sorry about that. Oh dear. Still not coming back, is it? Goodness. Okay, talk through it. What collaboration are the companies working on? I can't remember how many times I've tried to find this out. The detail of the project remains classified. We can't risk telling you them in case you fall into enemy hands. But you know them, right? Yes, this ship, the Argent's Quest 3, is manufactured with many experimental components from the project. Automatic emergency protocols, protect both information and technology. The program and its database will delete itself in the event of a hull breach, and the manufactured artifacts will be destroyed. Can you tell me more about it is time for your exercise period? I sigh. No more clues for now, it seems. I put the slate away, get out of bed and stretch. I know I'm required to perform physical activity for a specific duration every wake period. If I don't choose an activity, one will be chosen for me. There are clothes on a rack that has just appeared beside me. I take off my nightdress and pull out a breathable exercise one-piece. As I slip into it, the material tightens, providing support and comfort. I start to run, jogging towards the wall. The star field fades away to be replaced by a field on a bright summer's day. The sky is blue, cloudless and beautiful. The floor moves as I move. I know I'm really not going anywhere, that there's a wall a meter away from me, but my mind refuses to accept that. The green grass rolls into the distance where I can see a house. It's an old rural home made of brick and a sloped roof and a chimney. The sight makes me smile. It comes from an image I found on the database years ago. The house gives me an objective, something to run towards, but I'll never get there. The room lurches to the left. I stumble and stop running. What's happening, I ask. We are under attack, the ship replies. We are taking evasive action. I make a grab for the bed, dragging myself back onto it as the emergency straps deploy, snaking around my arms and legs. Show me, I say. I want to see what's going on. The blue sky fades away and the stars return. They are streaming and swirling around as the ship dips and ducks to avoid bright flashing beams of energy. I grip my teeth and fight to keep my stomach under control. How long till we jump? 15 seconds, the ship replies. Brace yourself. I lock my leg around the bar at the bottom of the bed as the floor becomes the wall, then the ceiling. Gravity is gone. I'm floating in the air when a thought pops into my head. There's a question I need to ask, an obvious question I've not thought of before. Who is Meredith Argent? Miss Argent was the head of her company, Argent Incorporated, formerly known as the A. Miss Argent was the head of her company, Argent Incorporated, formerly known as the AAAI. The ship replies. There is no hint of inflection to the voice, no hint of hesitation as it fights to keep us both alive. She was a hero of the Argent Rebellion and the Alliance. I've heard of these. Alioth is a system we've never been to. It leads the Alliance, or at least claims to. The Alliance itself is a loosely connected organization that tries to claim it's an interstellar faction to rival the Federation or the Empire, but it really isn't. The news reports I've read over the years don't say that, but they do. But I can see behind the propaganda to the truth. There was hope, ambition, and aspiration, but it's become hollow and tired. You are also Meredith Argent. In front of us, I see a Python-class ship. It erupts, raining beam weapons, cannon fire, and missiles down upon us. The screen flashes and the room shakes. I flinch and duck instinctively, but then we're clear, running for deep space. An orange circle appears, and a name I can't read. Where are we going? To a star system that is kept from the galactic chart. We will be safe there until we move on to our next destination. I grab the bed and try to think. Said the system is heavily militarized. Did you bring us here? We need to obtain something, the ship says. What? Did we get it? Yes, although I'm not sure. The ship doesn't finish the sentence. Instead, I feel the engines surge and the room vibrates and the stars turn into lines. And we're in hyperspace. There is a jolt. The walls tighten back into their light and back into their white, but the gravity doesn't return. The vibration stops, and I'm drifting up from the bed, drifting slowly. Ship? There's no answer. Ship, did we make it? We did not. The restraints haven't released. I struggle, but I can't free myself. I'm powerless, more powerless than normal. What do we do? We have suffered damage. I am unable to access core functions. There is a virus. It is affected. The ship does not finish the sentence. I remember the emergency protocol. I should be dead. You should have deleted yourself. Yes, the voice is hesitant, strained, as if it's out of breath or in pain. I can't fulfill my core function. Can we call for help? There's silence for several minutes as I drift above the bed, and then the white walls fade out once more, and I'm looking at hundreds and hundreds of asteroids stretching away into a vista of stars. If I enable the distress beacon, we do not know who will answer it, the ship says. However, the virus will soon be able to contact it directly. I cannot allow The voices weaken now. The room speakers crackle and hiss with static. Is Meredith Argent dead, I ask? She is out hibernation mode. The restraints are released. I'm left suspended in midair. A panel on the wall flips away, revealing a console. The words distress beacon active appear on the screen. I have no idea who will come, but perhaps I will be rescued. Perhaps I will be free. Sorry about that, goodness. So, if you haven't seen, on the Elite Dangerous RPG website, there are a selection of short stories there for you to use as resources should you want to write your own adventures in the Elite Dangerous universe using the RPG game. And Poor Little Rich Girl is one of those stories. Thank you.